on the first day of the week. It happened on the first day of the week. There's something exciting about the first, isn't there? Why, being first means we've won. At least for some. Still for others, the first day of the week provides for it new opportunities. It provides new challenges. Why, the first day of the week provides for many of us another chance. Another chance to do things differently, to see things from a different perspective. Why, it all happens on the first day of the week. And we in our culture, we think the first day of the week happens to land on a Monday. And we would be wrong. For in Scripture, anytime we hear about the first day of the week, they're speaking about newness. They're speaking about the resurrection. They're speaking about something different. So John tells us that Mary Magdalene went to the tomb on the first day of the week. And as she walked in the dark, as she approached the tomb, she could immediately realize something was different, something was a bit strange. Why? There was something there that wasn't quite right. Why? First of all, she notices that the stone has been moved away. And because of that, fear enters her heart. There's also anxiety, no doubt, questioning, wondering, what does this mean? And so, of course, what does she do? She runs. She runs to Peter and the other disciple to tell them what her eyes have seen on this, the first day of the week. The beautiful thing about the first day of the week, as John tells us again today, is why it means it's more than just a day. It doesn't end tonight, this great celebration of Easter. Why? Remember, it says, on the first day of the week, which means it'll be ongoing. It won't stop tonight. It's gonna keep going. So this newness, this reality that things are different, perhaps this confusion that Mary Magdalene is experiencing, this fear, the anxiety, why, we can be assured likewise it isn't going to end at the end of the day. No. Like anything that's new, anything that's different, anything that's confusing, it takes a while to understand. Why, just this past Monday evening, it was 8 o'clock and my cell phone buzzed on my hip as it often does. And as I looked to see who was calling, I noticed that on the space of the cell phone it said that Dave was calling. Dave is my brother. He's a year older than I am. Dave and I, why, we oftentimes did not love one another growing up. But nonetheless, Dave was on the phone, and I got to thinking to myself, why is Dave calling? Dave never calls. Well, not always never. He calls once a year, usually. He calls to see if I'm going to buy the calendar raffle for the Canby Fire Department. He makes that call every year. I want to go on record to say it's been 15 years now that I've bought that calendar, and I've never won once. But of course, he already called me about that, so I'm thinking, why is Dave calling? And then, of course, my mind begins to run because I'm thinking, well, maybe there's something wrong with Dave or with Dave's family. Maybe there's something wrong with Mom. Something's got to be wrong because, after all, did I mention Dave was calling, and he never calls. And then all of a sudden, before I answered it, I got quickly, see how quick my mind works when the phone rings? All of a sudden, I'm thinking, Dave is calling me to tell me I won the calendar raffle. So, of course, I'm quick to answer it, and I say, Dave, how's it going? He said, I've got great news. I said, really? My 15-year drought has ended. That's what you're calling about, isn't it? And he said, what are you talking about? I said, you know, the calendar raffle, the one you make me buy every year. He said, no, I'm not calling about that. I said, well, what are you calling about? He said, we had a baby. I said, what? You and Liz had a baby. You're a bit advanced in years, David. Are you another Abraham and Sarah? He said, no. Dave, Liz and I didn't have a baby. Megan and Eric had a baby. I said, oh, was she expecting? You see, that's what happens, my friends. Life happens when you and I are busy making other plans, as the old adage goes. No, I knew Megan was expecting. I just didn't know it was going to be so quick. It was 9 months, but for me it was quick. For her it wasn't. Trust me, I'm sure all you women know. But nonetheless, David had to tell me that he was a grandpa for the very first time. Imagine, a grandpa for the very first time. I said, Dave, I'm just really struggling to get my mind around this. I said, did you ever think back in junior high when you were wearing that powder blue leisure suit that someday you'd be a grandpa? He said, no, but remember, Steve, you were wearing a canary yellow one. I said, yes, thank God we've burned all those pictures. But Dave was telling me about being a grandpa for the very first time. Imagine it. It happened on the first day of the week. There's something about first. Something about, no doubt, for my brother Dave holding this grandson for the very first time in his arms with his big hands that, of course, have on them the grease and the oil as a mechanic for so many years are bound to have. And yet he holds this child for the very first time, and I'm guessing that he's thinking about all of those firsts. The first time that this grandson of his might begin to start crawling, might even be able to say grandpa for the first time. Why, those first times when no doubt he'll get up and he'll start walking and terrorizing the house. No doubt those first times when Dave will be able to teach him the skills of wrestling, although I'm guessing Dave at his age won't do so well at that anymore. But nonetheless, there will be all those firsts, the newness, the mystery, the uncertainties, the questions. It'll all be there. Because it is for all of us. It's what we celebrate on this Easter morning. We celebrate the first day of the week. We celebrate an opportunity that is afforded to you and I once again to be able to celebrate newness, to be able to see things in a different way like Mary of Magdala did. And the first thing she saw different was the stone was rolled away. And my friends, that's good news for all of us, because you and I, we are not strong enough to move the rock. We never have been, and we never will be. So God does it for us. Out of love for us, God removes the stone so that fresh air can enter the tomb. You know, the tombs of our doubts and the tombs of our frustrations and the tombs of our deadening habits that are so oftentimes a part of our life, so that fresh air can enter in, and then a glimmer of light. And the light, it slowly but gradually penetrates the darkness, and we begin to see and we begin to realize that the heart always sees before the mind understands. Let me repeat that. Our heart always sees before the mind can catch up and understand. You see, the other disciple, he went in, he saw, and he believed even though he still didn't understand. That's what life is. It's seeing, it's believing, even though oftentimes we don't understand why and how does this happen, but nonetheless, life is there. It's right before us. It's within us. It's all around us. We just need to grab a hold of it and not only keep it to ourselves, but most importantly, to take this gift of life on the first day of the week, because it's always ongoing. It's always new. It's always different. It's always exciting. Why? Then we take this life and we share it. And we freely give it away so that others might come to discover what we know. He is alive. And that life is here. It is within us.